Edwin Allen was my great-granddad, and he came over from Middlewich in 1894, and this originally was two separate shops, number 14 and number 16. Number 14 was Percival's, the grocers, and number 16 was the Imperial Tea Company. And in 1894 he bought number 16, and he opened it as a paint and wallpaper merchant. And for 6 years he ran that shop, and in 1900 he bought number 14, the shop next door, from Percival's the grocers. So he ran the two shops separately for 15 years, and in 1915 he took the middle wall out on all 4 floors. And you've seen the receipts, haven't you, downstairs? So he redesigned all the front just to have one front door, redesigned all the leaded light windows, the pattern, that's his design, and the mosaic floor on the pavement at the front. And he then stocked the second shop with artist watercolours and paints. He actually was not an artist himself. We have no artwork of his at all. And I realised we've got no artwork with his name on whatsoever. He had no interest in it at all. He was simply a really good businessman.
Tell me about your cousin, the story about your cousin.
Well, when I first came here, Edwin Allen had given the business over to my father and my uncle Bill, my father Bert, and my cousin Roger was the junior partner. And he started all the glass trade going. He was the glass cutter, and he would sort out all the glazing. He would go out to the schools and measure up. And he was really the start of the whole glass side of the business, which was very lucrative. Shop fronts would go in, and £1,000 a time, some of them. A chap called Gerald Bullow in Stockton Heath had a huge sports shop there, and it must have been about 20 foot by 10 foot, the piece of glass. And it had to go in with suckers and 5 men holding it, and a huge job it was.
My great-granddad Edwin Allen died at the age of 87 in 1955 on New Year's Day, and obviously his 2 sons were then in the business, and then my dad came into the business in about 1962. He's worked here 62 years. And I was born in 1963, and Dad really encouraged the art materials side of things, because he was an artist, he is an artist, and he was very interested in that. And he runs the Warrington Art Group and has done for many years, and has been very involved in local artists and painting, and as an artist.
I had the choice of taking exams to go to university or to work, and it was really a choice of making money, earning money straight away, going straight into the business, or going to university and then 2 years in the National Service and not earning, say, for 5 years, which I thought wasn't very good economics really. So I started earning straight away. I came straight into the business, straight from school. And then in 1952 to 54, I was in the RAF, that was National Service.
In 1984, I was secretary to the director of a company around the corner, and I came here just for 3 weeks to fill in, and realised that it was pretty good fun. You could work in the shop, and you could make a picture frame, you could cut some glass, there was all sorts to do. It was really interesting, and I'd never had a job that was so varied before. So at the end of the 3 weeks, I went to my boss and told him, unfortunately, I'd found a better position, and I've been here ever since. That was 30 years ago. After the 3 weeks when I came here, I realised that you could talk for a living in the shop and get paid for it, which was just the most fantastic thing I'd ever heard. And it went on from there. So I went into the sales and the purchases, and I already could do a little bit of the accounts. And then I left in 1991 to have my daughter. There were 13 full-time staff here when I left. And I returned to work in 1993, and there was just one full-time person left, with my dad and myself, and the business had just died completely. It was really bad. So there was a little dusty box on the shelf which said silk painting kit. I'm not sure where it came from or how long it had been there for, but I opened it up one afternoon and sat at my table in the shop and decided to give it a go, which I did. And a lady came in and said, "That's very nice, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, it's a little bit of silk painting, would you like to see what I'm doing next week?" And she said, "Yes, of course." So I searched around the shop for another dusty box to see what else I could do, and found something else. I think it was glass painting maybe, and quickly made a few little samples of things. And she came and sat with me, and I said, "Well, for 50p you can have a go." So she did. She sat with me for half an hour, and then another lady came in and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm showing how to do glass painting. For 50p you can sit down and have a go." And that's basically how the workshop started, which have then set up a little room downstairs. Dad built me a little room with a table in and just 5 chairs, and said, "Virtually do what you like." So I started to research different crafts from different countries and have a little go. Never went for a lesson. I believe that if you're going to make your mistakes, you want to have a go yourself, and you might never make a mistake or turn it into something completely new, which is just amazing. And it went on from there. I then started doing classes from home, and I just got so busy that people just were queuing up to come and learn new crafts, new art things and sculpting and all sorts of things.
I think it's a great shame that shops like this are disappearing, because you go to the bigger shops and they haven't got that knowledge about them. They don't show you what they really can excel at and what you can do. And shops like this, I don't know, they've got the time for you, and you always think they become friends. That's how I feel about it.
It's a real shame that there's no more. Well, this is the end of an era, really. There's not going to be any more shops like this at all, because it's all your big supermarkets and what have you. It's very, very sad to miss.
Yeah, I'll miss it, because art shops now, they're not, you go in and you can't find anybody to ask anything, what do you do with this or what do you do with that, and sometimes when you learn a new skill, you do need to know how to use the items, So you need somebody that knows what they're talking about. It's better hard to find in art shops today, But, it's a shame, because these days I think people need to turn to something, to do craft work, because it's a big help to pass the time away, and also realise how skillful they can be by doing something that they've never done before.
I think it's a great shame, because these are the hearts of communities where you go if you're older and lonely. It's somewhere to go. They will talk to you. You can come and join a club. It's a great shame.
When Edwin Allen opened up, he was paint and wallpaper merchant, and because a lot of the decorators that came for their supplies here would put their ladders up against the windows and broke the windows, Edwin Allen realised that at the same time that they were buying their tin of paint, they could come and get the glass to mend their windows. So that he started a glass and glazing business side of it up as well. He was a member of the Glass and Glazing Federation, which was governed by the rules of them, which was safety glass, which is...
In those days, we used to supply all the farmers, all the wheelwrights, all the farmers, all the wheelwrights with red oxide, red lead. We had 500 gallons of white spirit in the cellar. We had 40-gallon barrels of raw linseed oil and boiled linseed oil. We had 40-gallon barrels of French polish and knotting, and we used to bottle them off and sell them to the decorators. And along with this, we had all the knowledge of how to prime wood and how to finish off undercoating and glossing and finding out what the problems were when the paint blistered, when the sun came out and all that sort of thing. And everybody knew that we had all the knowledge. So they would come in time after time, we'd supply all the builders. We had a walking week. Walking day was on one day, and all the factories, hundreds of factories all the way, there were tanneries engineering firms, all sorts of things knocking about. They would all close for the week, and we were faced with delivering gallons of paint all over everywhere, floor paint, ordinary white paint for health and safety. Every factory had to be painted out. We had vans, delivery vans all the time, in and out of town, delivering all over Cheshire even.
And unfortunately they pedestrianised this street, Buttermarket Street, in the early 90s, and that prevented us from getting deliveries of glass, so we had to give up the glass and glazing virtually overnight, which was quite a shock, as we were very busy with that, but they wouldn't allow us to carry glass up the street, understandably. And also a lot of the decorators, painters and decorators, used to drive up the front, and of course that was all stopped. They couldn't come and collect the paint. It was much easier for them to go to the out-of-town warehouses that had parking.
Well, the customers changed because of pedestrianisation was the first thing that was a radical change. From having decorators and builders queuing at 8:30 in the morning for their glass and their paint, we were then pedestrianised outside, and traffic wardens were stopping anybody from coming anywhere near in a vehicle. So obviously nobody could collect paint, they couldn't come to the shop. We were then, we had to stop delivering because of the vans at the back. We couldn't leave a van anywhere while we loaded it. We were asked to get things ready and then just call for the stuff and then deliver it. But it wasn't practical, particularly on the glass side, where you were cutting glass continually, loading the van, going out delivering. They just weren't allowing us a van. So in the end, the building trade just fizzled away. We couldn't cope with that.
Why a place like this is important to the town?
Well, it's important because it's been here for such a long time. It's served people all through the years, and it's the service itself. You don't get that in other shops. You don't get that in the big supermarkets or the big like Hobbycraft and that. You just don't get it. You get personal service here, and that's what keeps people coming back. And it's the friendliness of the staff as well.
What's magical about shops like this?
Personal service. And you can get the advice there and then. They know what you're talking about, not like Hobbycraft. You go in Hobbycraft and you got some one of them, and I don't like that. I like want to feel things and look at them and say to me, can I do this, can I do that with it, what's your advice? Brilliant, honestly, especially with the clothes dyes. You tell you how much you'll need for the particular garment and how much salt to go with it and what to do. You know, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's such a shame it's closing down.
It's a personal service. It's the staff themselves who know you. That's what you get with personal service and independent shops. Well, you can always find what you want. Might be hidden around corners. But you go into the big shops, large craft stores, so-called, and the staff don't even know what the stuff is. They don't know what they're selling.
Yes, I think the success of the business is the personal service of everybody who's worked for us. I mean, people worked for us for 20, 30, 40 years non-stop. We're always grateful to all our staff. And the amount of knowledge you gain is you can't do it without working in the same business for a long time, really. As I say, it's a way of life, and people have just enjoyed coming here. They've always respected the information that we give them.
You think that's disappearing in some retail?
I think modern shopping is very impersonal, I suppose. It's either online or it's in a place where you only meet the cashier on the till on the way out. You don't seem to meet many other people. There are one or two little shops still left. Hancock's are still here. I think there's Cordwell's are still going. I can't can't think of any others just this minute, but there are quite a few personal shops still.
And that's
going.
quite a shame, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, to think about it.
My dad's been absolutely lovely, and all the customers love him. They do. He's a very gentle person, and he will help anybody. He's very keen to see young students, promote them, and help fresh new businesses set off. He's always encouraged people to have a bit of art in their life.
I think, as I said before, I think it's the attraction of the shop itself. It's the way the shop's been here all these years. It's been a connection with the town for all these years, and people have grown up with it, and they've changed what they're buying from it, but they still come back to it, and it really will, as I said, be sadly missed.
One of the first employees to work for Edwin Allen was a gentleman called Fred, and he used to take a bike with a trailer on the back and cycle on a Monday morning to Liverpool docks, where he would meet the boats which had come over from, I think it was Norway, and they brought paint, tractor enamel, and he used to spend the rest of the week cycling back through all the Cheshire farms back to the shop. By Friday, delivering all the paint to the farmers for the tractors, and then he would set out again on the Monday morning, and that was his job.
Well, there are loads of memories. We used to have big accounts with Pilkington Brothers. Pilkington Brothers manufactured the glass, and we would buy 10 crates of glass at a time. That was the minimum order. And this big lorry would arrive at the back of the shop, and two of us would have to unload 10 crates of glass, all covered in straw for protection. And we had to then unload those into the middle of the street, whether it was raining or not. Then we'd put them on the lift, and the lift would take them to the top floor. Then we'd have to take them out of the crates, and the crates would have to be returned back to Pilkington. So a direct account of Pilkingtons in those days was something not many people had.
A lot of people with the recession in the early 90s were suffering from stress, as they are now. Everything goes round in a circle, it's coming again now. And they go to the doctors would say, find something to do, take up a hobby, maybe do some drawing, watercolour painting. So basically they would end up in the shop, and they would wander the aisles for maybe a couple of weeks before they had the confidence to actually speak and ask for something, and then you knew you could just then see if they'd like to come and sit with 4 other like-minded people, a cup of hot chocolate, learn something new, bit of a laugh, take home what you make. It was great, and that was really lovely to see. Never really mattered what they actually made or how good they were. It was just the fact that they'd come and spent a couple of hours and just enjoyed it, and their confidence was built, and maybe in other areas of their lives as well. It was good.
My first memories of this place was when I used to come in when I was about 6 years old with my dad. He used to come in for if he'd broken windows or broken a mirror or maybe a picture frame and he needed the glass for it, so he used to come in here and have the glass cut especially to the measurements that he wanted. And then I used to smell, I can remember the smell of the paints and the putty and everything. That always sticks in my mind. And I used to come with him over the years as I grew up. And then finally I started to come in to do when I was doing crafts. And I used to buy all my craft stuff from here, and Kathy was so helpful. If I couldn't find anything, she'd find it for me or she'd order it for me. And they were just a lovely bunch of people. They'll be sadly missed.
Well, just tell us about what are your first memories of this place?
Coming here with my granddad for panes of glass. And then I used to come with my dad, and he used to buy dryer to put with Froxide paint, and he's always said it's a good shop, and that was it. So I bought myself a photograph from a second-hand shop, and I thought I wanted a beautiful frame for it because it was really, really pretty. So my dad says, come here. I came here, they framed it and said how really nice it was. And then I happened to notice they did craft sets, and you could come for craft lessons as well. So about 2 years ago it set me off on that. Now I do painting, craft, cards. I've even sold one of my paintings, but only for a fiver. But to me that was a great achievement, and I give a couple away, and everybody says how nice they are.
I remember my grandfather, who always wore a very shiny suit, 3-piece, and smoked cigars. And when I was a child, I used to be brought into the shop on a Saturday, and I would be allowed to address the envelopes and stick the stamps on. And he taught me that you must never write anything on an envelope that isn't required by the postman. No point, waste of time. And we would sit, about 4 or 5 of us in the office, in this cloud of cigar smoke on a Saturday morning. He only ever worked mornings, my granddad.
My best memories are coming in when the children were young for their art stuff, and then having pictures framed, and I did tapestry work, and they were framed here as well. That was back in maybe the early 70s.
My earliest memories are getting the oil pastels for college and school and getting dyed. I'm messing about dyeing things, tie-dyeing things at home, you know, drive me mum wild. What else? We did Christmas cards with the church, we did that. And then when I had the kids, I got the kids coming in here as well, Tom, Claire and Nathaniel. Tom's 32, Claire's 30 and Nathaniel's 26. They used to always come in here for all the watercolours and everything else, because they had the decent stuff and it was the best. And you didn't have anywhere like Hobbycraft then, did you, or the internet. So he was always in here, photocopying stuff. What did Claire do? Claire did a card making course. I think Tom did with the watercolours, and Nathaniel did the same as well with the watercolours, and they were quite good. They got the best in school as well, Chuck.
Coming here with my granddad to get glass for his greenhouses and things. And then I came with my father, and he used to buy dryer to put with peroxide paint. And that was when I was only a little girl, and as I've grown up I've come in at odd times. But if you want paint, this was the shop to come to and cut glass. And then as I've got older, I got a painting out of a second-hand shop, and I came here to have it framed because I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It was my dad who told me to come here, and they made such a good job of it. I was really proud of it. It looked very, very expensive when it had been finished. And when I was here, I picked up a leaflet about craft and painting and things, and I was talking to Lee, the young man that works here, and he was telling us all the different things you could do. He kind of talked me into it. I didn't need much talking, but he got me there. And I came to the first one, I thought, oh, I was going to laugh me out of here. And they were absolutely lovely. They had all the patience in the world. And I can't praise them enough. You come into the shop, it's like stepping back 40 years when people were kind to you. They had all the time in the world. And I've learned all sorts now about how to paint and make cards, and even done in pre-text little sculptures that I've got around my garden. But it's really well worth it, and they're so kind and they encourage you, and that's what you need.
When I was at school, I was allowed to come on a Saturday, probably when I was about 11 or 12. I don't remember being brought here any earlier than that, and we used to come in on Saturday. All the 4 floors were occupied with staff, very, very busy at the time. It was great atmosphere, and it was electric. It was great fun, and there was a lot to do, and that was fun. My dad will miss her working here dreadfully. He has come here for 62 years from 9 to 5. He's never stopped working. He still doesn't want to stop working. In fact, he says he's going to apply for another job. I've told him he's a liability to the insurance, and he's probably not going to get one, but he'll be fine. I think the thought of retiring is pretty bad, but I think when he actually gets to it, he'll be fine.
When I retire, I've plenty to do. I'm still the secretary of the Warrington Art Group, and I've been secretary for the 28 years now that I took over. I could do with getting rid of that job though, really, if I can. I go to the golf range quite regularly. I used to play golf, and then I had a new knee and a new hip and a hernia operation, so I've just been a social member for a bit, but I'm a member there. The Warrington Sports Club have just made myself and my wife honorary members, so we'll certainly be going there. We used to run what you call the 300 Club, and we raised thousands of pounds a year, every year, with a big party at the end of it. And I think in recognition of that, they made us honorary members. We've been members since it opened in Walton, which is going back to 1967, I think. That's quite a long time now. We had a final closing day. That was absolutely fantastic. We'd announced it on Facebook and emailed all our customers and told them if they turned up, we'd have a little ceremony. In fact, we had a bit of a raffle for drawing as to who should lock the door for the last time. And this lady turned up, Ruth, and it was all on film. We showed... no, we didn't. No.
There was lots of people there, wasn't there?
There were 40 or 50 people all turned up, and they were all got the cameras, and they all wanted to see everybody on the last day. And we shut the door, and we had a bottle of champagne where the cork blew off, and it was caught on film as well. That's somewhere. And then we all went down to the Looking Glass at the bottom of the Bridge Street and had a bit to drink and eat. It was a fantastic day. The weather was fine, and everybody enjoyed it, and everybody was... Some people were sad, some people were happy. It was just one of those things. I thought it was a brilliant day.
I will be going to see him every day, because I've seen him every day. I'll have to speak to him on the phone at least once a day. Yeah, I will. He makes it a very safe place to work, makes it a very safe environment, and it's very nice indeed. You can learn a lot from my dad.
Well,